A study released today is highlighting the depth of homelessness in Ontario. It shows more than 80,000 people were known to be homeless in 2024, and it predicts the situation is on track to get worse. That is, unless governments start to make some major investments.
The report also says that about a quarter of people considered homeless in this province are children and youth. That's under the age of 24. In addition to that, there's been a significant spike in the amount of refugees and asylum seekers considered homeless as well.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a bit of a mixed match of things that we're going to be taking a look at. The first thing is the leadership race for the Liberals. Another member of parliament or minister has decided he won't be running in the leadership race. I actually didn't even know he was considering being a candidate, but Steve McKinnon put out this letter earlier yesterday to the media.
Another Liberal cabinet minister is out of the race. Employment and Labour Minister Steve McKinnon says the time available is not enough for the kind of campaign he wants to run. He joins a growing list of Liberals not running to replace the Prime Minister. Other high-profile ministers have also said no. Dominic LeBlanc, and just this weekend, Anita Anand. But behind the scenes, others are organizing, preparing for potential campaign launches, including former BC Premier Christy Clark, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, former Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, and Government House Leader Karina Gould. Justin Trudeau says he'll step down when a new leader is chosen on March 9th. That means whoever takes the job will become Prime Minister until the government is dissolved.
Now, Kate, the entry deadline is in less than 2 weeks, so those rumored contenders will need to come forward soon.
Yeah, sources tell CBC News Mark Carney is expected to announce this week. One question is who can fundraise the $350,000 entry fee, the highest ever for a leadership race in Canadian history. A spokesperson for the Liberal Party says it can be paid in installments, but a price tag that high could weed out long-shot candidates.
And just like that, one by one, they keep falling. But that is going to be the main question, is who's going to actually have the ability to pay that $350,000 as an entry fee? Now, they just announced that you can do installments. That's still quite a bit of chunk of change if you have to do installments for that. But Mark Carney would most likely be able to afford that. And Frank Baylis, who has already announced that he's going to be running for the leadership race, seeing as they have money. The rest of the people most likely will have to either fundraise or get some sort of backing. Now, with Christy Clark, there has been a bit of a controversy, seeing as it was just found out recently that she had voted for Conservative, so meaning she became a Conservative, not a lifetime Liberal like she said she was, and then she actually got caught and called out on it on the CBC. Take a look.
You have called yourself a lifelong Liberal, but you voted in the last federal Conservative leadership race. That would have required you to cancel your Liberal Party membership in order to join the Conservative Party. How long were you a member of the Conservative Party, Christy Clark?
Never.
But you voted in the race, did you not?
No, I didn't. And I never got a membership, and I never got a ballot. What I did, though,
I will say, Christy Clark, we reached out to the Conservative Party, who told us, in fact, that your membership was canceled.
Oh, well, why don't they come out and show my membership or my ballot? They never sent me any of those, although I wouldn't put it past them to manufacture one of them.
She went on to say in the interview that she called the Conservative Party numerous times to ask where her ballot was. And I said, well, wouldn't you have to be a member in order to expect a ballot from them? I asked if she canceled her Liberal Party membership. She said no. Her team now says that she was in fact not a registered Liberal when she supported Jean Charest. So there was media reporting at the time, it's paraphrasing of her, where she repeatedly says, I have my ballot, I'm excited to vote for Jean Charest, etc., etc. There is, of course, also tape of her at the time talking about her support of Jean Charest. So let's listen to a bit of that.
Even with all these examples of Justin Trudeau moving the federal Liberal Party to the left, it has got to be a big step for you to join the Conservatives. Why did you do it?
Because I think that we need there is only one leader who's running for office right now who is going to be able to unite the country, I think, and who's going to bring a moderation and a willingness to talk to the people with whom he disagrees, and that's Jean Charest. I'm joining the party so that I could support my friend Mr. Charest, and you know what I think he can bring to the national dialogue. I mean, I do think he'd be a devastating opponent for Mr. Trudeau.
Now, in that interview with me, David, she said, well, they should prove it. We reached out to the Conservative Party of Canada, who sent us an image of the proof of her membership purchase from their data management system. It seems to suggest that she was a Conservative Party member for over a year. They also sent a little statement along in which they refer to Clark's kickoff to her leadership campaign, saying it is about misleading not just Liberals, but Canadians.
I mean, I've got a Canadian Press article here from August 11th, 2022. Speaking Wednesday, Clark said she recently received her ballot in the mail and will vote in the contest. Quote, I think Jean Charest would be a fantastic prime minister.
Now, you know it's bad when even the CBC is flabbergasted and calling you out on your BS. But after the CBC proved her wrong and the Conservative Party reached out to provide this proof that she's requested, she decided to go on X and write this.
Turning now to federal politics, the field of contenders for the Liberal Party leadership is narrowing. Meanwhile, former BC Premier Christy Clark appears poised to make a bid herself for the top job for the Liberals, but she faces questions over whether she is a true Liberal herself. CBC's Linda Ward has more.
And after that interview, the Conservative Party sent a screenshot that appears to show that Clark was a member of the Conservative Party from June 2022 until June 2023. Clark took to social media last night with this mea culpa saying, well, I misspoke. Expletive happens, lesson learned. I've always been clear that I supported Jean Charest to stop Pierre Poilievre. She goes on to say, I'm thinking carefully about running because he still needs to be stopped. Well, she, along with the other Conservative hopefuls, won't have much time to decide whether to enter the race or not. The deadline for entries is only 12 days away.
So it looks like things are not starting off well for Christy Clark. And it's also being reported that Mark Carney is going to be announcing his candidacy later this week. We have yet to hear anything from Chrystia Freeland. Who knows? But if you took a look at Christy Clark's message on X, she keeps talking about defeating Pierre Poilievre. And another Liberal loony who has the same sentiment is none other than Mark Holland, because he was in Saskatchewan late last week, and when a reporter asked him if he's going to be running in the next election, this was his answer.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. Are you committed to running in the next election, or will it depend on who wins the leadership race?
I will oppose Pierre Poilievre with every fiber of my being. I will claw up any mountain to fight what he represents and what he would do to our country. There is nobody on our team that I would not support. I will absolutely 100% be fighting in the next election with every inch of my being.
It just blows my mind that he says what Pierre Poilievre would do to this country. Our country is in one of the worst states it has ever been. And as you saw from the opening report, homelessness is on the rise, especially in Ontario. Now, I'm sure that's across the country, but just listen to this report that came out.
The freezing temperatures that we have experienced this week have certainly brought the issue of homelessness to the forefront, both here in Toronto, but throughout the province of Ontario. And now a new report shows just how bad the issue has become and how much worse it could potentially be without investment.
80,000 is a staggering number. It's equal to a city the size of Peterborough.
They're not just numbers, of course. The individuals sitting on street corners in the cold, lying on grates to keep warm in the winter, or huddled up in tents. About 81,500 people experienced homelessness in Ontario in 2024. That's a 25% increase over the last couple of years. And it could rise to nearly 300,000 people without a roof over their heads by 2035.
We are at a real tipping point. Without concrete action, it is only going to get worse. More than half of homeless Ontarians are chronically homeless. Too many people are stuck in a cycle because our homeless response system is broken and poorly funded.
The Association of Municipalities of Ontario put together the study along with social service agencies and points out that municipalities paid for more than half of the $4 billion in funding for housing and homelessness programs last year. Premier Doug Ford is quick to defend the amount of money the province has provided to help, but admits Queen's Park has to continue to invest.
I've never seen anything like it, but we need to support these people, get them back on their feet, get them a good paying job, and we need to build more homes.
The Ford government introduced legislation last month that would give municipalities the ability to clear out homeless encampments. With that, $75.5 million was announced for homelessness prevention programs, in addition to the $700 million the province says it has already invested. The report suggests an additional $11 billion over 10 years is needed to add more affordable housing, improve support services, and enhance prevention programs, and keep more people from joining those already outside struggling on the street today.
Let's understand that this is the floor, not the ceiling of the issue.
Now, I don't know about you, but 81,000 is a staggering number, and that is only in the province of Ontario. That's not even across Canada. So who knows the actual number of the homeless encampments that have increased. In the beginning of this video, you heard that 25% of that 80,000 are children, or what they consider children under the age of 24. That's crazy. We know food bank usage is up, unaffordability is up, people can't pay for, food, rent, all this kind of stuff. So for Mark Holland to be like, oh, what Pierre Poilievre would do to this country, you guys got to look in the mirror. And he actually was in Saskatchewan announcing a $40 million bilateral agreement with Saskatchewan in order to help fund this 3 drugs for rare diseases. But these 3 drugs are already covered. And when a reporter from the CBC actually asked, so what is this program actually doing? Like, what is this $40 million doing? And their answer that they gave essentially says, nothing is new. We're not doing anything new with the program. It's the exact same program, but we could potentially be looking to expand it. Take a listen.
Question from Dane Patterson with CBC News.
Hi, just
Go
a
ahead.
question for Minister Cockrell. If you folks can hear me.
I can hear you, yeah.
Just looking for a bit of clarification. I think you'd mentioned that this deal, some of the drugs already covered, or in this deal already covered from the province. Did I hear that right? And how does this new agreement kind of change how?
Yeah, thanks, Dane. So these 3 specific drugs that we're talking about today, they are on the Saskatchewan formulary currently, which we provide coverage for under our provincial plan. However, what this agreement today does helps us to ensure that we're expanding coverage really and looking at adding more drugs down the road to address other rare diseases that affect children and patients of all age. So really, I think what it shows is a commitment on behalf of our government to be working with the federal government to, again, make life a little bit easier, to lessen the burden on those dealing with these rare diseases.
Okay, sorry, just to clarify then, so are there going to be more people that have access to it, or what is, I guess, the practical change?
Yeah, so the practical change for folks that are already on these drugs in Saskatchewan, that coverage will obviously continue for those patients. There was a question earlier today about screening and diagnostics. As I said, that's something that we're continuing to work on in our province in terms of expanding those services. But really, and I've had many conversations with constituents, both in my own community and in communities around the province, on specific drug requests that they're exploring personally with their healthcare providers. I think what this agreement does is it opens up the opportunities to have more discussions, again, with the federal government on, expanding what drugs are available to residents, whether they're here in Saskatchewan or elsewhere in the country.
So $40 million to have more conversations between the federal government and the provinces. That's essentially what they just announced, which is pretty ridiculous. And it was a little disappointing because Jeremy Cockrell there, he's the member of the Conservative Party in Saskatchewan, run under Scott Moe, and he's the health minister for Saskatchewan. And this is not a suitable answer. This answer is complete garbage. You guys are just wasting money with this little program. But Mark Holland actually is looking forward to wasting even more money, because when he was questioned about the upcoming election, he thinks, why even bother? We have a 4-year mandate. Let us run the 4 years. By the end of the 4 years, by October, he thinks that he's going to get all the deals with all the provinces set in stone. Take a listen to him.
We elect Parliament for 4 years. Everybody's, let's have an election, let's have an election. Why? Like, every 4 years you get an election. Like, democracy's not going anywhere, folks. Like, there's going to be an election. But we got stuff we got to get done. And I certainly, if I was a constituent and somebody who cared about healthcare, I'd be talking to my MPs and say, like, really, you're going to cause an election in May or June instead of October because what? You think it's better? You might win more seats? Right? That's your calculus, that it's better for your party to have an election now? Like, we have a set election day. Shouldn't we use the set election day? Shouldn't we use the time we're given as parliamentarians to get things done? And I could tell you, if I'm given to October, I'll get all the pharmacare deals done. I believe that. Now, Jeremy's sitting next to me. He can disagree, and that'd be totally fair, right? Because I got work to do, and I don't want to put him in an awkward position. But I really believe in this. I don't believe in it because I'm a Liberal. I believe in it because I'm a Canadian, because I think it's the right damn thing to do. And so I think having that time is important. And I'm hopeful that it's there, but I'll make use of any time I'm given.
Now, I find it interesting that Mark's talking about a set election date when it was the Liberals themselves with the Bill C-65 that were trying to change it to move it. Their excuse was Diwali, but in reality, 22 of their MPs wouldn't qualify for their pension if it didn't get moved. Luckily for us, with the proroguement of Parliament, that means Bill C-65 is dead in the water as well, which is great. But how much more time does this guy need? They've been in power for almost 10 years. It's like these Liberals are high school students who have wasted the first 3 years of high school, and they realize in their final year, oh, those past 3 years were important. We should have been getting good grades. And now they're just in the process of trying to cram and study for the final exam, which it's a little too late. This is not how the government should be running, and you guys are just wasting money. Like, $40 million to do what? Have more conversations with the federal and the provincial parties? That's basically what this announcement was for. You could be using that money in so many other ways that are much more beneficial than this. But as always, that's just my opinion. Love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about all this, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.